What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about Ethereum Classic. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what's really moving it, but why you need to add it to your watch list for this upcoming week. So I'm going to go over all of that, but first make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So at the time of doing this video, sitting at 1347. Over the last 24 hours, about 8.19 million in volume. So volume has been just very bottom of the barrel. Over the last 1 month, down 15%. Over the last 5 days, down 10%. So things haven't really gone according to plan, and people's appetite for risk is definitely not there. There's a lot of consumer linked fear, and cryptocurrency is just a extension of that, of people's appetite for risk. So in general, things aren't looking too great. Even right on the fear and greed index, it is at 10, so under the extreme fear category. Historically speaking, this usually does and is a good opportunity to potentially buy, but this time around, there's a hell of a lot of fear, some of which is linked to the whole shutdown and how there hasn't been kind of a blackout period for data. And recently, they just completely did a data dump and just massively threw it all onto the broader market. Market's freaking out as far as that. But going into this upcoming week, things could get very interesting. And what I mean by that is everything's been hit. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything's down about 12 to 15% over the last 7 days. Unfortunately, ETC is way down here, so ranked number 40 based on market cap. And I think some of that has to do with, again, just no real catalyst, no updates. It's at the broader market's mercy in all reality. It is doing relatively well in comparison to a lot of its peers. So for instance, Internet Computer down 21%, Near Protocol down almost 27%. So it is doing okay, I guess, in comparison to them, but still anyone getting in from 2021 onwards has seen pretty much nothing but disappointment, which is, again, very, very unfortunate. But this upcoming week, normally what happens is when sentiment is extremely low, people kind of look for opportunities. And normally when it comes down to cryptocurrency, long weekends are its best friend, and we do have a long weekend kind of coming up in theory. So we do have Black Friday, and then even though Friday is technically still a business day, usually everyone just takes it off. And this is where we've seen historically a bump up in the volume. And even if we look over the last 1 year, this is usually the foundation this week where we do consolidate, and before we do have a breakout, a Santa Claus breakout rally, as what a lot of people like to call it. So in general, even though everything does seem to be like we're imploding in the broader markets, cryptocurrency, everything, this might be a very good opportunity to potentially buy. As you can kind of see exactly what happened last year, we had that nice kind of consolidation period, and then we had that breakout during this upcoming weekend. Unfortunately, that does appear that it was kind of the last big rally before a kind of slow bleed down, which could potentially as well happen this time around. But for those of you that are wanting to do a little bit of a swing trade, you can make some pretty good money for this upcoming week. Again, despite the level of fear. Looking at liquidations, there hasn't really been that much. ETC was sitting roughly around that $14 range up until we had a string of kind of longs liquidating their positions. So on November the 20th, we had about $1.5 million liquidate their position. On the 19th, we had 488, and then 473 on the 18th. So it does look like longs are just kind of at the mercy and getting slammed left, right, and center. You have seen in the past where shorts actually do liquidate, and that causes a very significant nice push higher, such as on July the 17th. But those are few and far between. And I think ETC, ever since I started covering it, has been extremely shorted. So in general, something to keep in mind. Right now with that 1345, it is smack dab in the middle between these 2 points, so the pivot and this S1. So $9.29 is going to be a strong support. Most likely, once we do have that initial spike and it kind of tapers off, that could be where it does land, roughly around that $9.29. And this is pretty much exactly the same type of video I did last time around. I said, hey, you know what? We're going to have a nice rally, a nice push higher, and then we are going to most likely bleed out. And that is exactly what did happen. I believe my video was somewhere around here, if I remember correctly. I don't do that many ETC videos, of course, but it was roughly around October. And as you can kind of see, you can make some pretty good money off of these types of actions and swing trades. But again, I think longer term, we will be continuing to go down to roughly around that 929. Aside from all of that, though, there really hasn't been anything substantial for like crypto news. We did have a rush of ETFs, so that might be coming down the pipeline for ETC, possibly in the first half of 2026, possibly even second half, but I don't really see that being that crazy, because if everyone and their dog is getting a ETF, then it kind of loses the whole luxury of that, right? It's no different than just having the coin itself. You don't need an ETF. It might add some stability, but still nothing too crazy I'm excited about based on that. Aside from all of that fun stuff, though, on the actual chart, quickly popping over here. So on the actual chart, things aren't looking that great at all. It is below all the key pivotal moving averages that generally I like to look at. Stochastic RSI is very oversold. That's the only positive to bring up for ETC. And yeah, obviously there's no coins really articles really talking about ETC whatsoever. So it is just right now at the mercy of the market, but potentially we could see a very nice push higher. So a couple key kind of levels to watch for resistance would be that 50-day moving average. So that is sitting at 1598. So hypothetically, that could be the general range when we do have our spike where it does hit. We also do have the 100 at the 1834, and then the 200-day moving average at 1863. So that's going to be extremely strong resistance. So I don't really see that being potentially hit, but at least for this upcoming week, we could see maybe some further consolidation, touch this 10-day moving average, and then potentially this going into this next weekend, maybe hitting that 50, or potentially even better yet, that 100. So like I said, I think just the whole sentiment right now is just bottom of the barrel right now, but you could make some pretty good money from a swing trade on this. So just wanted to kind of pop on, do this quick video. Let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. One thing that I am doing though is I'm doing a Black Friday deal for Stacked. I actually just launched this. So I reached my member limits on my Patreon. So I just launched this roughly around a week ago. I already put my limit for the OG, so that was my launch promo, instantly got filled. Right now I'm doing a Black Friday deal. If you're wanting swing trades on stocks and crypto, put that for $10 a month. Very on point, a lot of bangers. So if you are wanting some pretty good deals, sign up for that. Link in the description below and also the comments. Like I said, this is Black Friday deal, so it'll only be on for another week. So with all that said, appreciate all of you guys watching.